Hi guys, I'm so excited about today's video and recipe. Honestly, I'm not exaggerating or being super dramatic. I'm really excited. We're going to be making homemade yogurt. To be more specific, we're going to be making homemade soy yogurt. I'll tell you why I love this recipe. Actually, I have a long list of reasons, starting with the fact that it is super easy to make. You get to control the quality of the ingredients. So not only am I making it organic, but also it's yogurt that doesn't have oil, additives, preservatives, so super clean yogurt. It doesn't mean that I don't buy store-bought yogurt, and it doesn't mean that I don't end up buying yogurts that might have some additives or some oil or whatever. It depends on what's available in the market. I do buy it because sometimes it's just easier if I don't have any homemade yogurt at home, or I am in a hurry or whatever. Like, yes, of course I will buy it. But really, this recipe I love so much that I just try to make it on repeat. Another reason is because I don't know about you, but like where I'm based, I cannot seem to find plain yogurt easily. It's always sweetened or it is flavored yogurt. No thank you. I just want plain yogurt, whether I'm using it for savory dishes or desserts. I just want it to be plain so then I can decide how I'm using that yogurt. Another reason is that I don't know about you, but it's really expensive, man. Like, honestly, like I've got a family to feed. That yogurt, like, it's a lot, huh? It's super cost effective. It makes a good portion, and from there you can keep making the next batch on repeat. This one batch that we're gonna make is gonna give us more future batches. We're gonna take a bit of that and then make future batches. So we're gonna get a nice, creamy, delicious, clean homemade yogurt. Finally, what I absolutely love about this recipe is the fact that it's only two ingredients, and we're going to use the Instant Pot to make the homemade yogurt. I will write in the description below a method that you can use if you don't have an Instant Pot with you. You could actually use the oven, but why I love to make it use the Instant Pot, or you can use a yogurt maker, is because you get a more consistent and reliable result. When you're making it in the oven or using other methods, sometimes it's not giving you the same kind of texture or reliable kind of method. Keep in mind that with our first batch of yogurt, the following batches of yogurt that we make using this yogurt is going to get even creamier and more delicious with time. For the two ingredients, we're going to be using milk and also our starter culture. So for the milk, we want to make sure that it does not contain any oils or additives. It should be really two ingredients. It's made out of water and soy, because that will influence and could affect the fermentation process. In terms of the starter culture, I have bought a starter culture pack, but also you can use probiotics. You can use the capsules and use that powder from there, or you can use store-bought yogurt. But keep in mind that you need to make sure that that yogurt has active culture. So that's not necessarily always easy to find. So in my personal opinion, it's always easy just to buy the culture or the probiotics and then just use that to make your first batch of yogurt. After the first batch of yogurt, you will use half a cup from this yogurt that you're going to be making to make the future batches of yogurt. Before we get started with the recipe, guys, keep the energy flowing by subscribing to my channel. I post healthy plant-based recipes daily and other wellness kind of content. So if you want to upgrade to your 2.0 version of yourself, eat healthier, feel better, then this space is for you. Let's get started. So all you need is about 1 liter of soy milk. You need to make sure that the soy milk is just water and the soy. I'm also using organic soy milk to make sure that I get the best quality. I'm adding my soy milk, and I'm going to be using the starter culture that I bought store-bought. I'm gonna add this little bit by little and mix it well. What I also want to make sure to mention is that you gotta make sure that you've sterilized your container. So you want to make sure that you've washed it with soapy water and then rinsed it with hot water and then let it air dry. This is our starter culture. It's a packet, pre-baked packet. And I'm just gonna mix it. So I'm going to be mixing it, mixing for about a minute or two. I just want to make sure that it's really well distributed, because that's really important. You can also add this in a glass bowl and then add it into the Instant Pot. I'm just adding it directly into the container. So what I'm gonna do is I'm simply going to close it. Make sure that the valve is on. You close the lid, make sure you keep it in venting. Okay, that's the function there, venting. I'm gonna switch it on. We're gonna choose the yogurt option. That's 8 hours. We're gonna increase it to 15. We're gonna increase it to 15 and then come back to it in 15 hours. It's 3:30 in the morning. When I made the yogurt batch, I knew it needed 15 hours to ferment, but I didn't really calculate the time properly. It was noon-ish, and I thought 15 hours would be 3 p.m. the next day. And then after, obviously, I realized that was not 3 p.m. That was 3:30 a.m. So I set my alarm and I'm up. I didn't want to waste a batch of yogurt. I didn't want to delay another few hours to leave it longer just in case it didn't need a longer time. So I'm up at 3:30 in the morning to see what happened with my yogurt. I've sterilized my hands, sterilized my jar, I sterilized my Tupperware. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna check on the yogurt, separate half a cup here as our culture for the next batch of yogurt. So we won't need the probiotics anymore, we won't need the culture anymore. And what's amazing is that the following batches are gonna be thicker and creamier batches of yogurt. So with time, it should be better and better. Anyway. Let's check on our yogurt. Okay. The first thing I would say is that when you open the lid, flip it over quickly so that the water doesn't come down. That is my yogurt after 15 hours of fermenting. It smells quite tangy, which is lovely. What we're gonna do is we're gonna give the yogurt a bit of a mix, okay, to make sure that it's all well distributed. When we put this in the fridge, it's gonna thicken a little bit. So happy with what I'm seeing. I tried to scoop out a little bit of the extra water and dump it out. So I'm going to use half a cup of this yogurt with the 1 liter of milk that I will use next time. So as for the yogurt, we're going to transfer it to our jar. Okay, we're going to refrigerate it for a few hours to get to cool, but also the yogurt should also get a little bit thicker. Okay, so I'm just transferring the yogurt. I've got my starter and I've got my yogurt. I've created a label that says yogurt starter and I'm going to place it on top and put the date and the time so I know when that is prepared. And I've done the same, saying homemade yogurt, and I've labeled it. So that tells me that's a starter, so none of the family members know not to use that or open it. And this one is our yogurt and I have the date so I know when it expires. It's gonna be okay for like 5 to 7 days, but anyway, I will always smell it and I always taste it before using it. And this batch right here, I'm gonna try to use within the next few days to make my next batch of yogurt, to make sure that the culture is as active and fresh and the yogurt is as fresh as possible. I'm going to refrigerate it and allow it to thicken further. So I'll see you later on in the day. I'll give it a few hours in the fridge. I'll go back to sleep, go do my workout in the morning, drop off the kids to school, and then I will film again and show you what happened with the yogurt. So excuse me, I feel like I'm half asleep, but I will be back. My husband said I'm crazy, but I'm not. This yogurt is so worth it. All right, see you in the morning. Look at that. Look at how beautiful this yogurt is. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna take my yogurt to make my next batch of homemade yogurt. If you recall, I scooped this out, so it's half a cup of yogurt from my last batch of homemade yogurt. We don't need the probiotics or the starter culture to make the next batch of homemade yogurt. A few things worth highlighting is that obviously you need to make sure that it is still fresh when you're making the next batch of yogurt. You have to make sure that it's still good, so you want to smell it, you want to taste it, and you want to use it within, let's say, the first 5 days of making it. Obviously, the sooner you use it, the better, because it's still more fresh and the culture is more active. The yogurt that we will produce in the following batches are going to be tastier, creamier, and yummier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this yogurt in the Instant Pot. Now we're gonna gradually add the milk, and I'm gonna keep mixing it to make sure that the yogurt and the culture is evenly distributed in my milk. Okay, and Guys, it's literally, we're doing the same thing. So instead of adding the powder, we're just adding the culture and we're gradually combining it together. And the same thing applies. I'm using organic, unsweetened soy milk, and I'm using it with no other additives. So it's literally just the water and the soy. So that's 1 liter of milk, or 950 milliliters, just under 1 liter of milk. We're gonna do the same thing. Let me give it one last mix. Do the same thing. We're keeping it on venting, not sealing. Sealing is when you are cooking, but venting is where you want it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use the yogurt option and we're gonna allow it to ferment for 8 hours. We're not gonna do it for 15 hours. We're gonna let it ferment for 8 hours. We're gonna check in on it. If we're happy with the thickness, then that's it. We're stop at 8 hours. I have done both. I fermented it at 8 hours and I've fermented it at 15 hours. I personally like to ferment it at 8 hours because it's thick enough, and then it thickens further in the fridge anyway. And also because it's very mild, it's not very tangy. The longer you ferment it for, the tangier it gets. Well, if you're trying this out for the first time, definitely start with the 8 hours of fermentation, and also be patient with the following batches as you start to get the hang of it and start to produce better, basically, batches. We're gonna now press the yogurt and then we're gonna put it at 8 hours to ferment. See you in 8 hours. Okay, and there's our new batch of homemade yogurt. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try to scoop out any extra water. Okay, we can just scoop it out. Easily extract. Seems to be in excellent condition. We're gonna mix the yogurt. Okay, and the reason we're gonna do that is just to give it a bit of a smoother texture. I've separated some of the yogurt, half a cup, into a container by in itself to make our starter for the next batch of homemade yogurt. And this will be the yogurt we will use at home. If this is too much of a portion and it's not really being consumed within the 5 days, up to maybe 7 max, then what I would do is I'd probably start making half of the portion. Okay, so you really, and by half that means you need 1/4 cup of starter and half a liter, so 500 milliliter of milk to make half a portion. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please keep the energy flowing by subscribing to my channel. You will find healthy plant-based recipes, and you're going to find a lot of other kind of health and wellness content, from vlogs to nutritional videos and much more. So if you want to upgrade yourself to your 2.0 version of yourself, get healthier and happier, then this space is for you. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.